Welcome to another episode of the SNC Podcast, a podcast featuring conversations with Nigerian creatives and business executives about the creative, business, and legal aspects of music, arts, and entertainment. I am your host, Folashade Anozie. These trying and uncertain yet powerful times of change reinforce the reality that music, society, and business do not exist in a vacuum. On one hand, a lot of Nigerians are becoming more aware of the unmitigated injustice that Nigerian women and children in particular have to deal with every single day. You couple this with the constant harassment and killings that Nigerian men continue to encounter at the hands of Nigerian police officers. On the other hand, you look at what's going on in America. Millions of Black people, and quite frankly, millions of Americans from all walks of life, are rightfully protesting and demanding for equality and justice for Black people, basic rights that they have been deprived of for so long. People across the world have also protested in solidarity that Black lives matter. And on the Nigerian entertainment front, COVID-19 unfortunately continues to have a detrimental impact on the industry. This is the backdrop against which this interview was recorded, and my guest was Oyinkansola Fawehinmi. Oyinkansola, who is popularly known as Fozadoza, is a Nigerian music executive and lawyer. She obtained her law degree and diploma in security studies from Babcock University and was called to the Nigerian bar in 2014. She is one of the partners at the Nigerian boutique law firm Technolawgical Partners and is a business manager at Incubation Factory Entertainment Ltd, a talent and label services agency based in Lagos, Nigeria. My conversation with her covered politics, the Nigerian Copyright Act, strategy, contracts, and more. Hi, Foza. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk.
Hi. I know. It's been a long minute.
I know.
I know.
So the reason I'm laughing is that you were texting and then I was like, hi, Foza, sorry. So how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Honestly, I'm sad.
What?
There's a lot going on in the world.
Yeah.
In Nigeria and second home as well. It's just... And I think what breaks my heart is the fact that we see protests in America, right? And then when it comes to Nigeria, I wonder when we're going to all move from just talking about it on social media and then going to action. And I was telling my mom yesterday, it also sucks when people now say they're going to take action. And a lot of times it seems that Nigerians don't support that person, especially when it's a justified cause that affects all of us.
Yeah, I can totally relate because I'm kind of going through that thing in my own industry right now. And it's funny because for those of us that can see 5 years from now and we know the kind of deep issues that we're going to get into because of the decisions we make now, it's very hard to be the lone voice making noise in the desert and saying, this thing is going to put us in trouble. This thing is detrimental, because right now a lot of us are focused on what is the immediate gain. This period now, like COVID and everything, I'm quite spiritual, right? And this period for me is there's a tectonic shift, right? Everything is leveling. I feel like God is saying, you know what, it's time for those that have given the opportunity or those that have given that resources to come to the fore and actually use what I've given them to make the world a better place. So this is the period where 10% will come out again and become the new billionaires. And I feel like this is the time for Africa, right? It's the time for Africa to solidify its position. And it's happening, right? But it's happening in very small pockets, right? And first of all, everybody has seen America has been demystified. So all of us are looking and we're like, wow, we can actually be better than America. And the first step is everyone in the Francophone countries, right? They've kicked out France. The African Development Bank last week, the US was trying to run the one man that is sitting and looking like, how can we have so much resources and we're losing out. So in 4 years, he has reduced importing by a significant amount. And obviously, the guys that are gaining from it are upset, and they're trying to rope in with, is this, is that. And all the African presidents came together and said, no. So it's that same period now that, we're looking, because 2 years ago, a certain fund came into the industry, the entertainment industry, and I sat down and I said, this is not good. It's money, but it's not good, because the driving force was to take over the media. And now that media through entertainment is culture, shapes culture, and is a very strong pillar. And these people want to come in, put in the money to build these resources, the infrastructure, and control the media. And, this week we saw TikTok was highlighting hashtag Black Lives. And America immediately was like, hell no, you can't do that. And they started uninstalling the app. But I'm looking at it that if it's in Nigeria here, and I'm saying that, you guys, this app is detrimental. Remove it. I'm sure, and it's unfortunate that the elite class that we use these things that are supposed to know are so ignorant. We're extremely ignorant. It's painful. So you're looking at it and you're just like, it's very frustrating. There's this fight that I'm currently on, because I've seen the end game. I've seen the end result. And, one of the first reactions I got was, I'm pushing something with these people. Why would you do this? And truth be told, I've gained from these people. I'm not going to lie. I've gained. But I'm looking at it, I'm like, you're still doing trash. I cannot encourage this trash behavior. The same way I want someone to call me out when I'm doing trash. No matter how much good I've done, I still do trash. And I need to be called out, because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's not about one person. It's about the collective group. 2 years ago, when I was really frustrated about the political class, very frustrated. And I decided that, I'm going to get my PVC and I'm going to vote. Because truthfully, I'm always complaining and I've never voted. So I went out and I picked a candidate. I picked 2 candidates, one in my hometown, Ondo State. And I said, okay, I'm going to donate, even if it's 10K, to your campaign. I know it might not make a huge difference, but I'm going to donate it because we went to school together. I know you, I know your passion, and I stand for what I support you. Fortunately, won. I supported Banky. In fact, I volunteered to campaign.
I saw you at wasn't it social media week?
Yeah,
everywhere. Yeah.
And people didn't understand when people would ask me, did Banky pay you? I can conveniently tell you that I didn't even the free food that Banky would give us after listing, I wasn't even eating it. I would probably give it to someone, maybe my driver when I get home. It's probably water, when we finish working and doing this thing. And it just opened my eyes to see that, when you get rich, someone was arguing the other day that we have upper middle class. I'm like, shut up. We have poor and extremely wealthy. There's no middle class. So why are we deceiving ourselves? Because you can afford an iPhone 11 Pro, which you have to save 6 months to be able to buy. That's not riches, And when I entered the slums and we're doing this campaign, my heart kept breaking. My heart kept breaking, and I'm just like, we're so disconnected. We're so disconnected. And it's painful because, I started talking to people, and the truth is, the funny thing is, even myself, that I'm a lawyer, I spent 5 years, I went to 6 years, I went to school, I'm presumably well-read, I just realized that I focus a lot on the presidential campaign, and it doesn't really have any power. Yeah. It's the legislative arm of government, and we've totally neglected that. And when you check the people that are going into you're just like, bro, how can this guy understand that for Etiosa, I need you to create a community that caters for creatives? Why? Because from that community, we can have people that would, be the ones that would employ for when there's Lagos Festival, you employ those drummers from Etiosa to do the live band. I couldn't also relate to the fact that the counterpart of Banky would come and say, I donated 12 boreholes. I'm like, first of all, bruv, we've passed the age of boreholes. And I totally understand that some people need it. But that gap, I live in Etiosa, I pay taxes. I need value for my tax. So boreholes doesn't benefit me. So you have to balance that class. But then again, I now realize that because of Banky's campaign, that's when the elite in quote, came out and realized that, actually we are being sidelined, because for every time the poor people elect someone in, they just get their classroom renovated, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
So these things, and I totally share it with you. I'm seeing all the Blackout Tuesday. I'm seeing like companies that are doing Blackout Tuesday, no show, this thing. Are the same companies ruining the country? They're the same. So I was talking to my business partner today. I said, is it bad that I'm not putting up a poster?
Yeah.
I was kind of feeling somehow. Then I realized that, man, I actually do a lot of good.
Exactly. Beyond just putting up,
Yeah, like my company does it. Like I know I pay for one thing, I pay my I was talking to my accountant yesterday and I was pissed because I just realized that I still have to pay tax. I'm paying taxes. I'm not getting value for my tax.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm better off than all these companies that are probably putting Blackout Tuesday for show and PR and everything. So I don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
I don't feel guilty if I need to. Now my office has been closed for 2 months. It's detrimental to my business, but I can't have people coming to the office when they don't have transport, and they're going to get infected. I'm thinking about the legal liabilities and the health liabilities, and I'm like, it makes no sense. But the people that are putting Blackout Tuesday, they've been resuming. So I get you, and it's totally frustrating. Some people will argue that it's still hardening, advocacy, but the truth is, I don't think Nigerians have had it up to yet. Because right now you can feel that America is angry. I didn't even, it's funny that I was getting upset for Dan Smith last year. Yeah. Like, really, guys? So when they started burning down places, I said, oh, about time. Yeah. Like, you guys took this long, but they've gotten to that level. Yeah. So when I see people saying, this is not the time to shoot, it's not the time to loot and everything, I'm just like, you push them.
My mom was asking me this morning that, she was not even asking, she was teasing me that, I'm sure, because I used to live in Chicago, she's like, if you're in Chicago, I know that you would go protest. And I was like, of course I would go protest, because even the area that I live in, that's a bougie area that I used to live in, I would walk into my building and I would see the looks that I would get. People would be like, oh, so you actually live here? Or maybe I'm going to class and I see officers, and the way they look at me, I'm like, they're like, is she supposed to be here? So it's like, and I think that until Nigerians understand that what affects the market woman and market man also affects you. Yeah. I went to the market last week with my mom, and I was asking the lady who was selling ewedu, and I was asking her that how has lockdown affected her business, and she was just talking about all the different negative things that have come with that. And again, for me, and she was just saying that she hopes that people really understand that this lockdown is affecting the common man. So we that we're here doing podcasts, you know what I'm trying to say?
I know. We still have energy to do podcasts,
you know
right?
what I mean? So I don't really, you're right. And I think that, I wonder when Nigerians are going to have it up to our faces, and we're going to not just be paying lip service to, we want good governance, but really taking action. Because I saw someone, I think it was Japheth, I saw someone retweet a tweet that he said that America has done all these different things. Where are the sanctions from Nigeria? Because we don't have any authority, we don't have any power to actually say so. So I'm going back to your point about the African Development Bank and all these different things. They are just so they're intertwined. Yeah. And until Nigeria really understands that, the moment we as Nigerians start valuing our lives as who we are, we believe that not just being a Nigerian is not just about, having parties and enjoying jollof rice. But when we really value who we are, you value your gatesman, you value your house girl, you value your cleaner, it's going to be hard for the world to rally around you. And I feel like that's a trickle-down effect that starts from who we value. What do we value? We don't value ourselves, because if we did, me seeing people going to protest and supporting Black Lives Matter, which I said they were protesting this morning. Yeah. I'm not saying that you shouldn't protest Black Lives. I'm American, so I could go and join you. But really, there are more pressing issues in Nigeria. Women are being raped and killed on the daily, and that is not in any way, shape, or form causing all of us to go out to go and protest and march. I don't know. I just feel like we have our priorities. Yes, it is just so depressing,
I have this theory, right? And I feel like, first of all, we have 3 sets of generation. The current generation, which is ruling the ruling class, which will fade out by the next election, thankfully. because they've been doing this for almost 3 decades. The second generation is our generation. This group, which frankly is 70% the lost cause. Then the next generation are those that are still in SS2, SS3. And those ones, I try as much as, and when people ask me why do I go back to my secondary school a lot, it's because I'm like, I go back and I try to show them like, you have the opportunity to change, this country. And unfortunately, my generation were just like 10% that are fighting the fight. I tweeted something the other day. I said, so now that, for the longest time in my head, I never understood why I'll go to church and people will come out and give testimonies for an American visa. It never used to, make sense to me. This year also, I was so frustrated to the extent that I've started, when people are saying, oh, they're investing in lands and everything, I'm investing in buying a second passport. Why? Because I just want to be able to travel with ease. Not that I want to leave this country. I have no intention of leaving this country, right? Yeah. So, and I said, you guys go and you say, okay, you pray for America visa, you fast. I'm like, just to get knees on your neck. And if you see the response, of course, I'll pick that over Nigeria. And I'm like, so if everybody's going, who's going to keep this country? As much as we think is a lost cause, I promise you, if we spend in the next 20 years.
Yes.
Before I die, 20 years is going to be like, maybe I'm going to be in my mid-50s or something like that, right? This country can be way better than it is now. Yeah. So I feel like the work is in reorientating the younger ones we have now. Start teaching. When I was growing up, they used to teach us values of moral instruction, how to be a good citizen. Now, all those things, contentment, right? And these things, as funny as it is, I know that when they taught us contentment in school, one of the things they will tell you is, don't be looking at another person's sweet.
Yeah.
As little as that is, it translates to the way we deal with each other. The reason why someone wants to get an iPhone 11 Pro is not because your iPhone 10 is bad. Mm-hmm. It's because you're just seeing the other person and you be like, I want to feel among. I just want to have 3 cameras, at the back. And that's why you would want to take bribe. That's why you want to, as an OAP, you feel like it's your right to demand for money to play music.
I've never really understood that thing. And maybe it's because it's the A&R in me who just likes to discover people and promote them regardless. And as much as I say that, I'm also very type A and I believe in the power of money. My last name is Anozie. I am Igbo. So money is central to me. But for me to tell someone to pay me to play your music, that just doesn't sit well with my spirit. It just doesn't.
But the fundamental problem with that is that the real training of being a radio person, 90% of our radio OAPs don't have it. So if they're giving you the fundamentals, which is your job as radio is to feed as the media is to feed the public information and not to be biased about that information. There's no way, I promise you, there's no way it will sit well with your spirit to collect money to play music. Because once you start collecting money to play music, you cannot tell the artist that I don't like this song.
Yeah.
And I can't play it. Yeah. That's why a lot of them don't even have genres they promote. That's why when you listen to See the God, Charlemagne the God, Charlemagne the God will tell you what he needs to tell you. Piece off. And you cannot tell me that Charlemagne the God is living the life of an artist. That's the problem. The OAPs don't start living the life of the artist. That's not your job. You chose this profession and you know the tax bracket you belong to. Why are you looking at the artist tax bracket?
I think for me, I don't mind if you take money from the labels because labels do payola because you want to get steady rotation. But when an artist now pays you to promote their song, and then the one, I don't know how to say to you about, I was you. Oh, you are player.
I know, right? But the thing is, the truth is, they don't even really have the power to control the music that goes on radio. The OAPs, to an extent, they don't. And you look at it, you're just like, why are you lying? You collect $1 million from someone. So when artists come to me and say, oh, they've paid this person, they've paid that person, and you don't want to pay me, the legal person, money, bruh.
You're touching on so many things that we haven't do you know what's so funny? It's 17 minutes in, or almost 18 minutes, and we haven't even gotten to the core. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, you are touching on so many things that, I want to discuss with you. So let's just jump right in and you just touched on something. As a lawyer, do you get frustrated when you give someone, okay, the person says, I want to ask you for your legal advice. I'm not going to pay you, but just let me know what you think. And you give the person sound legal advice that based on the facts, this is what I think you should do. And then the person doesn't do that. And then things now get worse. And they now want you to rectify that situation. Does that make you frustrated? Does that annoy you?
Early in my career, yes. Now, I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've given 7 years of my life to this industry, trying to get people to understand how to run properly. And I was on a Ubi Franklin show like some days ago, and I just realized that what I've been talking about for 7 years, they're just getting it. So that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Progress.
now, I mean, it's not a good thing. But before, I used to be so frustrated. But now I'm just like, all right, sometimes you have to fall into that ditch to need my advice. Like, I see labels that want to sign a particular artist. From the negotiation, I can tell if this relationship is going to be a bad relationship because of the characters. And that's part of your job as a lawyer, And I tell this label, this artist you want to sign, I'm sorry, because I also have an A&R part in me. I'm sorry, this artist is going to need at least 3 years of artist development to get to any form of, and this is because the current competition in the industry, it can't compete, but they don't want to listen. Oh, somebody brought him in. This other artist has baggages from his former contract, and he has a huge sense of entitlement. You can't sign this artist. If you're signing this artist, be ready to do another 3 years of artist development.
Which is crucial.
And we go into 6 months into the agreement, you're already complaining, you're upset, you're this, you're that. I'm like, but I told you. Before it used to piss me off because I'm not collecting my money. Now, I've collected my money. You listen, you don't listen.
Yeah.
So what I now do is I just put a clause that if you don't listen to my advice, which my advice is always in an email, so that you don't go out and be like, oh, that lawyer said, that lawyer did not advise me. So I always have my receipts. So when you come back, I'll just show you, I warned you.
Yeah.
I warned you, So before it used to piss me off, but now it doesn't.
You touched on one of my questions, and I'm going to get to it later. And because I, as I was drafting that question, I said, it just came into my head. And I was like, this is me being like a sweet, nice person. I wanted to ask you that. Now, you talked about the fact that you put that in a clause in your contracts. In situations whereby an artist comes to you and says that I want to sign this deal, and I know you're not a psychologist, but what would you tell an artist who seems very desperate to sign a contract or sign to a label because you need the resources? Because a lot of times you hear half a loaf of bread is better than none, Abi, but sometimes it seems like having none is even better than the half you're going to get. So what would you tell the artist?
So from my experience, right, those that are desperate, those that are always desperate, have the following characteristics. 1, they're extremely lazy. 2, they've not invested in themselves. 3, they're extremely entitled. So you see, those 3 fundamentals also has an underlining, the biggest issue, which is greed. If you've invested in yourself and you know the effort you've put into it, and you are not lazy, because lazy would translate to, you know that this is your passion. You know that it's currently not making you money. It's common sense that you get something that is making you money to invest in this. So because you know that it's hard work to do a 9 to 5 or to be employed and also do music, the laziness comes out, you're not trying to get a job. But when you get a job, you have resources. So you can actually pay producers to make the music. You can pay the distributors to distribute the music. You can pay for proper PR. By the time you do all that, you know the value that you bring. So when I am talking to you, and I've had clients that they can't afford me, but they will tell me, I'll pay you in 7 months. So every month they want to be paying 10K or 5K. I would work with that client because the person understands the value. Yeah. So that's when you pay me that money, you always would listen to my advice. So in those desperate situations, frankly, I don't work with those kind of people. I just tell you, this is a bad deal. If you want to, this is what's going to happen after. If you take it, kudos. If you don't take it, I've also had situations where, because I saw the talent in the artist and I still saw the desperation, I tried to help out to renegotiate the deal to the best possible way. Some worked out, some didn't. And those that didn't, they still came back, the one that stopped their future. It used to make me feel so guilty. So I'll start looking for, okay, how can I hook you up? But then I realized that I'm not the owner of this dream. I used to disturb me. Like, I'm not the owner of this dream. Mm-hmm. I just did my own job. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. But if an artist, I always believe that if an artist has done those three things, invested in themselves, they know the value.
Yeah.
Because you know how much you've spent. So
that's true. Yeah. And even you talking about finding a job. So you're trying to grow your career and looking for a job. For example, my podcast, it's not yet making money. I'm looking for a job. So anybody out there who's looking for corporate communications, executive
very good
or brand development, please reach out to me because his sister is about to go begging on the street at this particular point in time. Now, I think that it is important that we discuss the concept of leverage because I feel like that is always ignored. People just say, you signed a bad deal, something. They took me for granted, blah, 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 blah. Can you talk about the importance? Because even when you go to the markets, you see leverage comes into play.
Yeah.
Anywhere except for like stores that have set prices, right?
Yeah.
So talk about what it means to have leverage or not have leverage and how that plays out when you're going to sign a deal with the label or whether it's a JV, whatever it is.
So as an artist, your biggest leverage is how much catalog you have and how much community you've built. So if you're going to a label and you have 200 followers, no song ever released, just demos or voice notes, of course, if I'm negotiating for the label, I will take everything from you because I'm about to do the highest level of work. I know what people don't understand is that, after the first month, second month, they say, you've not released any single for me, but you've still not even found your sound.
Artist development again.
Yeah, artist, like you've not, and that is, I have an artist that it took us 5 years, Basky, it took us 5 years for me to get him both mentally, character-wise, and music-wise to where I needed him to be. And he used to look at me as the Abinga of evil. Down to, there's a meeting by 2, why are you coming at 2:10?
Yeah.
You're sitting in a meeting with people and you didn't greet. You're in a meeting and you're wearing shades. Or I'm asking you every month, I need 5 masters from you or 5 complete songs from you and you're sending me 1 or 2 with excuses. Why? Just, or I tell you, we have to go for an event. You have to be going for a basement gig every month. I don't care whether you're learning. Every month you have to be submitting to me the new friends you've made or the new industry friends you've made. Your social media has to be growing by 500 followers every month. You have to respond to every DM. Like, those things are actual training. Now, it took 5, like, you always used to be so upset. Like, it was so upset at one point because before we recorded this new EP, I subjected him to about 3 months of vocal training. I said, I don't want to hear any song. Just go and do your vocal training. And, the training he was doing, he was doing at Freedom Park, and they would make him stand on the stage and recite, poems. And he just used to look like what's this? But because I knew that when you do that, you do your gym and you do your vocal, the strength of your voice goes ridiculously well. And when he started sending me songs, I was like, okay. It's working. And I found, I'm saying it took us 5 years because all the songs that I've been releasing, I would say, no, we can't release. No, we're not releasing. And I used to be very upset. All my business partners were like, this thing's taking too long and everything. And when the final product came out, down to the way it was looking, dressed, the artwork and everything, everybody was like, wow, this is magic. Oh my God. And I'm like, it took us 5 years to get here. So now, the thing I'll be fighting with him, like, go to your Twitter, retweet and everything. He says it's not his personality. I don't care if it's your personality. We need to make money. Go and do this. And now he's doing it with ease. And I'm telling them, I'm like, this is because we've done this for almost 3 years. So imagine it's like another label that was doing it and they didn't put him to us, because I will sit you down and I will explain the expense and what is going to, result to. Now, a typical artist that is entitled cannot understand it. I've dealt with like different artists that use different methods for them, and they can't. But same underlining principle, they can't understand it. Same thing for a label that can't understand. Why will I spend? Because those things are expensive. Artist development is extremely expensive. So I'm not looking to make money in 2 months' time. I know that this thing is going to take me another 3 years or 4 years. So the label doesn't understand, the artist doesn't understand.
But then why are you in the business? Because, but go ahead, yeah.
So, you see, I keep telling people, IP is not market. It's not fast consumer moving goods. It's like land. You buy a land so let me give you an example. So Papa Land 2 is somewhere, I think around that Ogun State side. 3 years ago, dead. Now, Buhari came in, commissioned the train line, and the train line started work. Like, they started putting. Now, in 2020, the train line is done. The train line is going from, I think, First Stack, Iyanoba, something, then Papa Land 2. Now, Papa Land 2, because it's a stop. If I had bought land there, immediately I heard Buhari signed the train listing, let's say at 100,000. That was like 2014. By 2020, because now the trains have started working, that land will increase by another 4 multiple or 5 multiple. But it took like 5 years. Now, in another 5 years, because now people have build warehouse, people start living there, it's going to increase by another 10 multiple. That's how music is. So you're not investing for now. Yeah, and that's what people get wrong. They think it's like we're selling milk, we're selling Bonvita. It's not. So as an artist, when you have, I can't go and talk to an artist that already has 2, before we used to call it mixtape. I can't go and talk to an artist that already has 2 EPs, 5,000, 10,000 followers, and an engagement of more than 50%, engagement rate, and be talking to him the way I would talk to someone that has just 100 followers. You can't. So that's what you used to negotiate. And I do it a lot. The label will come and I say, this person has spent, because this EP is what this EP is what this is what this is what this. Meaning that if you have the right team, you've passed 2 years of artist development. You just have to put one more, which reduces your cost. So it's like the leverage, you can see the bargaining chip.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Yeah. And I hope that people got that, because a lot of times I think that I was just saying, like, to me, it just seems like leverage. People don't really understand that. It's not about necessarily saying, oh, the label is evil or the artist is dumb. Do you really just understand what leverage is? And I think when we do, it makes, not saying that it makes everything bright, but it makes more sense. You're able to understand why things happen the way they do. So thank you for explaining that. Yeah. Couple of months back, it was Megan Thee Stallion with, her former label, 1501 Certified Entertainment. And I think it was last week, it was Cynthia Morgan and Northside Inc. I'm sure you've seen the contract, which was actually released publicly. What do you think about the contract?
So first of all, there are a lot of legally things wrong with the contract. And to be honest, those things that are wrong with the contract are legally even still in favor of Cynthia. And so first of all, I don't understand how she got the interpretation that she doesn't own the name. I'm like, I don't know where she got that from. So generally, this is what I think. First of all, Jude, which is what I discussed on Ubi's show, a lot of us enter into this business based on family relationship. I still feel like we should be calling the music industry a family as opposed to a business, because that's how we all run it. Because there's no way that if Jude then, P-Square was already, they were African phenomenon. That means that you have to have gotten your business in order. You should have had a lawyer and retainer. What does it really cost you to have a lawyer and retainer? So for you to allow the artist draft the contract and bring it to you and you just sign, I'm totally against that.
Yeah.
Also, for the manager and the artist to draft the contract themselves and bring it. I mean, the basic English was there, which was wanted to be 50-50, but things like IP ownership wasn't properly delineated. Publishing rights were not properly delineated. Accounting wasn't properly delineated. Exit clause wasn't properly delineted. Even the execution of the contract was faulty. The party's definition was faulty because it's from, a lot of people forget very minute detail. Like in the background, there's a contract between myself and yourself. It says, Fosa is a legal expert focused and specialized in the entertainment industry. Sade is an emerging recording and performing artist. Now, the reason we put those things is to define the capacity of book. So if in the contract I've defined myself as an expert, I'm going to be held to the standard of an expert. Do you understand? So it's the same way the record contract should be. So if the label has said that we have the capacity to do distribution, marketing, and promotion, I'm going to hold you to that standard. You know, and it's very, and when I change those things in contract, people are just like, oh, Foza is stressing out. But I know the implication of it. So, I mean, Meg obviously got too excited because, you know, there's Jay in the picture, you know, there's Queen P in the picture. However, you know, I think she just took it over. But because I'm probably pretty sure that, you know, I don't know, two things. You can never disrespect the early investor. Whether we like it or not, these people took a chance on your career. Because truth be told, nobody will know you if they didn't take that step. Even if it's 1 naira they put in it. So we always have to respect. And that's what people don't understand. The courts anywhere in the world respect the investor. Because
I'm going to get to that, but
because the money has to keep going around. And the more the investors feel like the money is not being protected, they keep leaving that industry until that industry dies, which is what is happening right now to our country, our industry. Yeah. The only people coming in to buy or to put money in music are doing it as slave masters. So that free money, that free largesse is out the window now. So my general thoughts is like, it wasn't run like a business. It wanted to be a family venture.
Do you think that Joy Tongo was wrong in drafting the contract because she's her manager?
To be honest, yeah, I just feel like our only issue was that she was not a lawyer. So she couldn't understand to the furthest extent what shall will mean in the contract or may will mean in the contract. But
or must,
right? So, but essentially, I feel like she did what she had to do.
Okay.
She did what she had to do.
Yeah.
Maybe at that time they couldn't afford a lawyer.
Yeah. You know. Just a couple of comments like, it seems like there's a conflict of interest, yada yada yada, and you know everybody always has their own.
Because that contract reflected there's something in contract we call meeting of the minds. So between Joy and Cynthia, that contract perfectly reflects
what they all agreed on,
what their mind met on. Right? So I mean, people have been arguing, there was no concrete meeting of the minds and everything. They all agreed to 50-50. That was the basic of their contract. They just said, okay, because Cynthia can't afford it now, Jude, you run it. And it was all reflected in the agreement. Yeah. It was all reflected in the agreement.
Now, before I move on from Joy, one other question I have is she alleged that Cynthia owes her, I think, $30,000. What can artist managers do to protect themselves?
So I'm going to use myself as a practical example, right? Because I've moved from being a lawyer, which is in Nigeria, I cannot be a lawyer and be other things, and I'm called to be other things. Yeah. So now I'm functioning fully as a music executive, which now makes me. So we run a talent agency and we run a label services, situation.
And for people who may not know what the name of the company is, what is it called again?
So we have it's called Incubation Factory Entertainment Ltd. The law firm is Technolawgical Partners.
Good.
You can reach out to them. They have lawyers that will attend to you.
Okay.
So what incubation does is when we find an artist that we feel like is extremely talented, which, I'm like, I love this artist. First thing we do is sign you up for management under the artist development arm. In that artist development arm, because we know that you don't have the money, you don't have the resources, the kind of things that we advance to you is we give you a free studio to work with a producer. Now, at the beginning of the agreement, when we sit down and sign, I will tell you these are the services that we have, or these are the resources that we have, and these are the resources that will be available to you. Now, for every point in time that you want to access those resources, we attach a financial value to it. So for every 2-hour session you have in the studio, it's going to cost you 40K. But you're not paying the 40K now. No. It's going to be in future.
Yeah.
The same way that we have producers that we've put on a monthly stipend or salary, they will attend to you, but for every hour you work with the producer, this is how much it is. And we also have that agreement with the producer and stuff. So now, because everybody's aware, it's not like I'm doing you a favor. You're not doing me a favor. I'm not doing you a favor.
Yeah.
We give you vocal training classes. Everything is costed. So at the end of each month, we render an account to you and say, okay, this is what you used up this month. This is what we achieved this month. This month we had 5 songs recorded. The A&R people came in and said, okay, no, we think you need to change your voice. You need to change your songwriting. This is what you need. So that agreement, we know that we're investing in terms of resources. And we know that in the first 2 years, we're not going to make any money because the artist is not ready for market. So it's all in the agreement. I mean, we've had artists that didn't like our structure and said, oh no, it's too, there's too many bureaucracy, there's too many people involved, we want to get out. And it was easy. I just pulled up my expense sheet and I said, okay, yeah, you could leave, but this is how much you owe me. And they say, oh no, I can't afford it now. I will give you a payment plan. Okay, you can pay in 3 months, you can pay in 5. It's worked out. Like, we've had like 3 artists leave, and they've paid me my money back. There's no back and forth. There's no conversation of. So it boils down to the structure you put in as an artist manager, and I also feel like it's the value and the leverage. I don't think there's any artist that walk up to me and have certain conversations with me, and maybe because of I moved from being a lawyer into this role. So I didn't start out, or I'm not your boy. I'm not your friend. I'm here to do business. Even the artists that we're friends with, that we also like translate from into being family, it's clear cut. Yeah. It's very clear cut. When you see me at home in my boxers and whatever, I will chill. Yeah. But it's as people say I run a military ship, but it's as principle that you can't come into the studio and smoke. Go outside. And I have no issues. And I tell them, I have no issues with you smoking what you need to smoke. But not in the studio and not in a public place. Because if they arrest you, I'm not coming to save you. Because it's illegal. It's illegal. So I think when we define this job, because a lot of things are, and I work with a lot of the older managers, and God bless them, those guys worked their asses off, they worked so hard and they became everything for the artists, but I felt like they forgot themselves too much. An artist will expect me to be your accountant, be your lawyer, I'm like, even though you can find all the resources, and because we have like a full one-stop shop, even though you can find all the resources in one building, you know that you have to pay for everything. Yeah. And I tell you, I'm not a booking agent. If you want a booking agent, we have a booking agent, we get you. I'm a business manager, I'm not a booking agent. And I feel like the definition, a manager, some people are good, extremely good with A&R. Some people are not good with the business. Some people are extremely good in booking agencies. Some people are not good in business management. So when you define clear cut, some people are extremely good with road management. I cannot be caught. I mean, I'm extremely good with road management, but I've gotten to that stage where I can't stand people's nonsense in the industry anymore. Yeah. So when you say 9 o'clock and you're not there 9 o'clock, I start getting irritated. So I can't handle road management anymore. It's the same way that I can't air now some certain genres of music. And I tell my people, I'm like, when you know your strength, when you admit your strength and capability, admit it so that you know that, okay, and that's where it comes from. A manager, people used to, when we first started the management thing, people used to come and say, oh, the standard is 10%. I'm like, everything I'm offering, you think it's 10%? Do you think it's 10%? So because there was no numerical value attached to those services, people rubbished it. But now that we're beginning to see some sense and form of structure, people are now beginning to respect it. And the moment you start putting number value to everything, you are sending emails, like there's every email to every communication, they know you're not joking. Yeah. And they respect it.
But this is how things are done outside
I've never traveled outside the country. I've traveled outside the country, but I've never gone, and that's why people ask me. And I feel like maybe it's because of my training as a lawyer. I mean, in my company, the best hands I have are all lawyers. So you see a lawyer functioning as a manager, you see a lawyer functioning as a producer, you see a lawyer functioning as a digital marketer, because they have those skills. And the way we communicate, I've been having issues with graphic designers, social media marketers, and digital marketers. And I realized that because they are creatives and informal, from the informal sector, it's very hard for them to acclimatize. Like when I tell a lawyer, give me this report, it's easy. they seamlessly go into, because we have the IRAC rule. So when you're sending me an email, I expect you to follow a certain format. But when I'm talking to these people, because everyone must know how to write reports. For the first 5 months, they will struggle and I'll be having a headache. And then I realized one day it came to my head that they don't have that legal background. And I've been saying this for the longest time, that I feel like the best music executives must have a legal background. You know, and I feel like that's where it's from.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where it's from.
One of my questions is that why does it seem that when it comes to working with Nigerians, whether it's doing a JV deal or whatever, it's sending an artist, we seem to not want to respect proper procedures. But when it comes to a foreign company that is foreign and is successful, and they're saying this contract has to be signed, this has to be done, we somehow understand the concept of fairness. Doing things the wrong. What kilo shewa no like?
But I think it goes back to the value thing we're talking about from the beginning.
But yeah, we don't value ourselves.
It goes back because, you know, so it was until last year I realized that, man, I'm actually one of the best doing this thing. And it's not like I'm fronting. It's just I've been so buried and so bastardized by my people in terms of the way that we're being treated, which I really don't care. But I didn't even know mentally. I was at that point where I'm just like, I'm just doing my work. I don't care. But when I was dealing on, you know, with some international bodies last year, and I did some clearance for, you know, and for every little thing they wanted to do, were like 20 that had to give approval. And they will answer everybody has to approve before that thing gets done. And I'm talking NFL. And even if it's down to the littlest money, everybody's asking for approval. And there are like 6 approvals coming at the same time, because we have to clear for publishing, we have to clear for this, we have to clear for that. At the point I was just like, these emails are plenty. And I realized that when I'm sending, like, it's even as funny as when an artist is about to release an album. So I tell my people, I mean, I wish you guys would see the boardroom, but this is where we all sit down when
I'll take a picture.
When we're about to like release an album, and I tell them the timeline is we decide on the date of the release 6 months,
of course,
before the album comes out, and this is why we have to do it. I'm like, you see the number of creatives we need to get, you see the number of this, you see the DSPs we need to liaise with, and everything. So they're looking at me and like, the industry needs forward. I'm like, nah, I'm not the industry. I'm creating my own industry.
Exactly.
And it's the same way I'm telling them, I'm like, I don't want my songs on this platform. I don't care whether everybody wants it on this platform because of the exposure. I'm not looking for exposure. I know what I'm looking for. And I explain to my artists that if I put it on this platform, it opens me up to piracy. And I have to spend more money taking those songs down, which devalues times 5. And I don't have that time. I don't have that resources. I have very limited resources and I have to spend it. And my artists are like, okay, yeah, I get you. But there are some other artists I'm like, your audience would never stream music. So let me just go to this platform that has made it seem somewhat, you know, nice to download music for free and partner with them and get value with them. So when we sit down and have these conversations and these structures, right? I think it goes down to a lot of training. Like and I'm not being proud, like there's no client of mine that you have some conversation with. When you have conversation with them, you be like, this person has a bit of sense. Because over the years, we've drilled in the value. I've taken it upon myself. Sometimes in a month or in a quarter, I spend like 4 hours training my clients, going to their houses and doing a whole presentation and showing them value and breaking down and being like, you could have done this like this. This is what we should do. This is the next phase of your career. That's not what they pay me for. They're getting way too much.
Extra. You're gonna add on.
Way too much add-ons. But that's it. And I have a group. So this same thing we're talking about in terms of structure. Let me give you a perfect example. 2016, I realized that producers were not getting the fair share of the pie. Producers were like broke. I'm like, it doesn't make sense because essentially in Nigeria, the production is like the 90% of this. Yeah. No offense to songwriters, but like, you know, the core of Afrobeat is in the production. Yeah. So why are the artists broke? Why is it only the artists getting the why are the producers broke? So, you know, we started, first of all, we discovered that with the PROs, which is COSON, Koson hadn't moved from what the definition of a producer was, according to what the copyright was then, which was the way music was done in the olden days was really the artist gets on stage, tells this person, guitarist play this, tells it. So in technical terms, the artist was the producer and those were performers because you would tell them what to play, right? But now when we went to go and explain to Koson that no, you see that process has been consolidated into one machine where the producer is the one that comes up with it. And I said it's even as bad as the producer now sends beats to the artists for them to get the inspiration to record. So they are now composers. And we fought that fight for like 2 years.
What was so hard for Koson to grasp? Like, because one thing I wanted to discuss with you is this is not a Nigerian thing. I think all over the world, sometimes it seems like the law is slow to catch up with technology and how things are being done.
So let me tell you why. It's because lawyers, and I keep blaming lawyers, we don't do our work. It took us, first of all, I identified the problem. Then I got with my team and I said, this is a problem. How can we solve it? And we went back to the law. We didn't go back to the law to look for a problem. We went to the law to look for a solution. So the way the law is drafted, right, is that the law cannot cover everything at once. It's progressive. Unfortunately, we have a very slow legislative arm. The Copyright Act has been, the new one has been in the assembly for the past, since when I was in 500 level, and I'm 7 years at the bar. Now, you see, the thing is, when we found that composer problem, put a team of lawyers together, led by, Justin Igave, brilliant guy, goes into the law and finds out that, we can go by this definition, technically. And we took that and we went to Koson. And we argued it back and forth with their lawyers until we came into okay, yes, this is it. Now, we've taken this thing and sent it to the National Assembly to add to the new Copyright Act that is supposed to be done, So you see, it's when lawyers don't test the law, nothing happens. Now, the next phase for Koson was to now start convincing the artists that you don't own 100%.
Yeah.
Now, another issue we had then was the law said equitable. Equitable could be anything, right? And we were saying equitable also can mean equal, which is why we now say that, okay, the producer is entitled to 50% because they do 50% of the work, So we started fighting and fighting. But then in that fight, we now took it to say, you know what? Let's start the SARS Academy, where we have a bunch of guys, maybe 10 that we can afford every year, come together. We teach them the SARS will teach them the production part of it. We teach the business, the management part, and the legal part of it. And we sat, and I was always the one in charge of business part and the discipline, business ethics part of it. And they used to be so upset because if I'm in class before you, bruv, like I'm in class before you, like I tell you to do an assignment and you don't turn it in. And I can bet you, out there, if you've worked with any SARS Academy producer, one, they don't delay their work. Two, they always respond to their email. And it's as bad as their email, if you check their email, there's a proper signature, properly written. They can draft a proper email. And when they're sent, before any SARS Academy producer releases the final files to you, you must sign a split sheet. And that shift, now we've moved from the conversation of, producers are not entitled to, why are you taking 50%? I'm good. That is, we sent 21 people, including SARS himself, into the world and said, go and do this job. And in 3 years, there's been a shift. So now, producers are now in the conversation. Do you understand? So
yeah.
And that's because 4 of us sat down and we're just like, this thing can't continue. And we're all lawyers. And that's why I keep saying that we don't test the law. People keep saying there's no law. I know what I've used the law to do, to achieve some things. But we don't test the law. We refuse. Right now, I'm in the middle of testing one law that is a technical thing. And then everybody's beginning to back out. And I know I'm going to lose money. I know I'm going to lose relationship. But I'm just like, we have to do it. If I don't do it, if I don't do it, everybody's just going to be looking at thinking it's normal until they run us out of business. And we're all looking like, Shebi, we should have done it. So,
yeah. And I think you also see that with the Music Modernization Act. But I think that even just beyond lawyers testing the law, I think that we also need people in office who are enlightened. And enlightened is very, very generic, but people who know what they are doing. I was about to say what the hell they are doing, but who know, because it's frustrating when lawyers are testing the law, and like you said, this law has been stuck there for how long now?
And that was why I was totally dedicated to banking, because that's someone who's built his business with IP. So he understands the need for why the Copyright Act has to be reviewed. Yeah. He understands, and he's an active stakeholder. Banky has been involved in COSON. He has been involved in like all this fight because he understands it. Banky gave us whiskey based on IP. Woo bet, and I was trying to get the whole industry to be like, guys, we need to put this person in office. To be honest, I cared about how he was going to use that knowledge to better Etiosa. And his agendas were like pretty much, pointed, and he had that, like, you could tell. And it's not even just about IP or whatever. Banky is an exposed mind. People will argue and say, oh, he's elite, he doesn't understand the people's problem or whatever. And I'm just like, this is someone that people around him benefited. Mm-hmm. People he sent to school. The foundation he has, just because he doesn't make noise about it, right? He has people he sends, so he understands if you can't go to school. He also understands that we use IP need to be protected. So it's
let's talk about both.
Banky, we're going next time.
I just think that even like when people say, oh, I want this person to be president or whomever it is, I always say, have you pictured that person speaking on a public or world platform? Don't Nigerians think in that manner to say that this person is going to be having intellectual discussions with other leaders from outside the country? And in no way, shape, or form does that make you wonder, like, we just don't care?
Well, you know that it's funny because I think even the lowest class gets it more than the elite class. Because if you go to the Market Women Organization, their leaders have a strong hold.
That's an understatement.
Like, their leaders would stand up. The chairman of NURTW will stand up and tell bus drivers that you are not moving today, and they will move. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The elite, we can't even gather ourselves.
I don't want to turn this podcast into a ranting podcast because I have so much to say, but I'm interviewing you, so we're going to just move on because
like, we can't even put together a proper music association.
Part of why I started this...
Sorry, you said something about music modernization.
Yeah.
It was pushed by labels coming together.
Yeah. Lawyers,
Songwriters Association. Mm-hmm. We don't have... The only association we've probably been able to do in the past few years is the Music Publisher Association of Nigeria, which, I was involved in, but, I stepped aside. And I know the struggle that we went through to put that together. I know firsthand. I've been in part of situations where we're supposed to form, and at every point in time, I just withdraw because it moved from the community goal to individual goal. And that's not why I'm there. And that's the fundamental problem with the elite people. They feel like a lot of the elite, a lot of us feel like we're entitled.
Yeah.
Because we're just like, we've spent so much in getting this education, we're fine, we have the finesse, so nah. You asked me.
No, yeah, I was about to say, like, part of why I even started this podcast is because of the conversations I would have when I was working at Extreme with producers about the struggles that they were going through, not getting paid, So it's great to see the shift that is happening now, that producers are actually getting the respect. I remember one time someone tweeted that something about like who's like the most ignored segment of the Nigerian music industry, and I tweeted songwriters. This was like a long time ago. And someone was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, don't you understand? That is encompassing of music producers as well. I'm just glad to see the shift that, you're doing as well, and making people really understand the importance that music producers bring to the table, and songwriters as well. And it goes beyond just understanding that. Because it's one thing for you to say, they're respecting us, but is respect translating to money? So it's just great to see. Now, what do you believe are 5 things that artists must take into consideration before signing a contract? I think you kind of alluded to the fact that don't be entitled, but if you could just talk about 5 things, even if it's less than 5, that you think that artists must consider seriously before they say they're going to sign a contract.
So first of all, because of this shift, right? First of all, you need to understand that the money that was available to the industry in terms of local availability is being cut short by 70%. So first of all, you need to properly identify the value you're bringing to the table. Now it's going beyond just I can sing, because truth be told, between Fireboy, Joe Boy, all the boys, you're gonna be doing much better than singing. You have to be ready to bring a whole brand. So you need to properly identify your value. You need to properly identify what you expect from a label. So if you feel like, okay, I want to sign with this label, and this label has great relationship with DSPs, right? Or they have great relationship with this management, or they have great relationship. So this phase of my career, I want it to be artist development, and they have this great relationship. Or this phase of my career, I want to be able to release an EP that will do these numbers and do that number, so that I can get this positioning. And what you have to identify that, so that you can also ask the label if they have those resources to meet that expectation. You have to identify what the expectation of the label is properly. That would inform the length of the contract. It will inform how much resources is going into the contract, because both of you understand your expectation. 4, the artist has to remove that false expectation that the industry has put, which is once you sign, you should have a Range Rover, you should be living in Lekki 1. Now you have to start thinking like a proper businessman. If I'm buying a Range Rover of 18 million and living in Lekki with the rent of 4 million, which is like 20-something million already on my career, and I don't have an EP yet, nobody's looking at you. Let's be honest. I feel like people just lie to the artists and say, when they go to your Instagram, they want to see this. People don't. No. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from practice. Because a lot of time, people used to come to me, people will say that, Fosa, you're not in the business, so you don't know. So I had to go into, I'm like, I need to understand this thing, because it doesn't make sense to me. And you have to build your community. And that's the thing that a lot of artists keep missing. They feel like they can buy a community. You can't. You cannot skip it. See, that's why Beyonce is Beyonce. Beyonce doesn't talk. In fact, when Beyonce talks, we're privileged. And that's because she has trained
us.
She has trained the community. And when Beyonce straight up said, guys, what I owe you is my art. I don't owe you my personal life.
Yeah.
That's why we can't be upset when she does. In fact, when she gives it to us, we're like, thank you, Queen.
But I think also beyond that, I think is the fact that behind the scenes, Beyonce is working.
Yes.
She's donating money. She's doing stuff beyond just going on the gram to say whatever.
Yes, she's actively involved. And she's very actively involved. Mm-hmm. So you have to build your community. You can't be from Bariga and can't even hold 50 people in Bariga. It makes no sense. You can't be from Ikorodu and they don't see you doing stuff. To whom much is given, much is expected. I understand that the Nigerian audience, they don't pay for anything music. They don't pay for the music. They don't buy your merch. They want free ticket to your show, but they still want giveaway. And artists are feeding into that illusion. How are you an artist that you're reasonably not making money from the value chain, because the audience have not been trained to give that? You are doing giveaway of 1 million. Where are you getting the money from?
I saw that during this, and I just said to myself that, wow.
And to be honest, and it's happening to all industries. So don't be upset with your label if your label is adjusting too.
Yeah.
Don't be upset with the managers that have done. I gave a forecast to one of my clients and said, this is how much we are. If we do this, this is how much we're supposed to make. When the pandemic started, the person said, and because we turned down some deals because, frankly, it wasn't bringing value. Mm-hmm. They were just looking at money, but it wasn't bringing value. And I'd already gotten several other things that made up for that money that lost, but the pandemic shut everything down. And we're like, hey, the cuckoo see the projection you made, and I'm like, are you dumb? Can't you see what's happening globally? And that's to show you that a lot of, a lot of artists, creatives in the industry, they feel like the entertainment industry operates in a vacuum.
Yeah.
They forget that anything that happens in the economy affects your industry.
That is one of my biggest pet peeves when I see people who all we are concerned with is whether Kim is doing something. I'm like, you need to know what is going on around the world. It is, but yeah, go ahead.
It's such a global village.
Oh my gosh.
Like, when they say, oh, oil prices have crashed, you need to be wary.
Exactly.
And also, as an artist, do yourself a favor and please question the source of your label's money. We've passed that age. Let me tell you the truth. Fun fact, true fact, if you are under a label that is run by a Yahoo boy, why do you really think that Yahoo boy will not swab you too?
Oh, Yahoo girl.
Oh, Yahoo.
Let's keep it equal.
Let's keep it gender
equity.
But like, why would you think that person will not swab you too? Or to the spiritual side, why do you think that the works of your hand will be blessed when you stole it from someone else?
Because I said Posa, I have been hustling. I need money. I have been begging. Nobody wants to hear my music, so waiting consign me if the money is from whatever. You have to understand that. You have to understand that aspect.
Yeah, but you also have to understand why some factors play into.
But the people that they have been successful and the source of their money isn't legal and they're doing just fine. So I always tell people that.
How long is it?
Okay, see, I always tell people that, the problem that a lot of us who are spiritual, you're trying to tell someone that this is the wrong thing to do. But I think we don't always acknowledge the fact that there are people who are doing bad and they're just thriving. They are thriving happily.
See, I have no problem with it. I mean, that's why I always say second.
Yeah.
I don't, like, you see, the first thing I said is, why do you think that someone who is swindling people
will not swindle you? Yeah.
It's just common sense.
Yeah.
Right? Then I give you the second part, which is the spiritual part. Like, no matter, even if you're making it, and it can't last more than a certain number of years. That's the truth. It's been happening. It's shown. It's been happening. And then people also say, oh, those that stay with the government and everything. Check it. There's something always wrong.
Yeah, but I think people are willing to take that risk.
I know people are willing to take that, but don't come and be complaining and crying to us. That's my point.
Okay, got it.
Like, don't come and complain and cry to us.
Yeah.
Because you already knew what was going to happen at the back of your mind, but you just decided to plunge with it. Yeah, so if you're going to dine with the devil, dine with a long fork. But that fork will break one day.
It's metal. It will bend slowly.
It would one day. So you have to, those things, you have to change the mindset.
Okay.
And for the labels.
I was about to say so. Yes, for the labels.
Yeah. Don't get involved with an artist that's not invested in itself. To find your niche. Now, we have different, there are different structures coming up now. Like, for example, we are building a structure where, we want to be able to service other labels, which is kind of how the way they do it in Yankee, right? Which is, okay, we're building all these structures for you. You can come and sign with and plug. So you can come and plug to my events production company. You can come and plug. So as opposed to you doing everything, you can just focus and say, okay, this is what I want to do. So labels, you need to also like find your niche and see where you want to build from. 3, you can't do everything. Like you're not an expert in everything. So hire the right hands. Please don't let people sell the dreams. Like, how will you come and tell someone that I can blow your artist with 20 million naira? Treat the label like a business. So if you're going to invest in a Greek, you will ask certain questions. Same way you should ask certain questions in music. I was negotiating the other day, and a lawyer was telling my client that my client is supposed to drop 60 million upfront before his client can sign the deal. I said, oh, no problem. Right? And I said, what has your artist done to be able to worth a 60 million advance? And everywhere went mute. And know that this investor is his friend. And I'm like, what business do you do? Because I put things like you have to submit a budget, you have to submit a deliverable, a project plan with deliverables and everything. And they were grumbling. I'm like, they said, so they go from 20 million can blow this song to we can't predict these things. But you want to collect 20 million. So let's have sense. Labels, let's ask questions. Let's hire the right hand.
And they also need to value And value is not even doing the word value justice. Place a strong emphasis on artist development.
Yes.
Artists need not just A&R, they need to know how to speak to the media, speak to their fans. It is, a part of me sometimes, and I'm not trying to be mean, part of me misses like the old times of when you had quote unquote music gatekeepers, because you see when artists would get signed, the process before they would release their singles or they release their EP or whatever the case may be would take a while, because that artist is going through dance training, you're going through vocal training, you're going through how to speak to the media, you're going through training on how to like communicate with your fans. All these things play a huge role in how successful that artist is going to be.
Definitely.
So I don't know.
So for example, I'm going to give you 2 examples. So Chloe and Halle.
Yeah. Yes.
Those girls.
Oh my gosh.
Have been under the almost 5 years
Yes.
of artist development.
Yeah.
Almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And you can see
The growth.
And you can see that this new album they're about to put out, you can see that now the label is like, yes, we can now go full throttle.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that during that time of artist development, they weren't working. They were in Grownish, they were doing soundtrack. Chloe was perfecting her production skills. You could see when they're talking, the way their intonation is, their voice is lowered.
Yeah.
They're talking, the gaze, the laugh, everything, the poise.
Yeah.
And you're just like, Nigerian one is Rema. Rema was signed a year before Mavin announced. And that's why when you see Rema on stage and he's performing and you're just like,
This guy, yeah.
You can see that Rema is performing to a group of energy boys and he's giving them the energy. So when he's coming with the mask and he's doing, Rema is not smoking. He's not drinking online. He's currently in his, I'm 18 and I'm living my life. He's training. Even when he's talking to the media, you can see that their position is with that coy baby boy, that is every teenage girl's crush. It's deliberate. It took I know this because I was privy to it took 1 year. And I know that they said that you send him to the studio, they send him to this, they're doing that, and people, they're just talking into his head. You think in that 1 year, the boy wasn't frustrated? Some artists will have been frustrated and I'm like, I'm not doing anything, I'm not releasing music. After you release music, what?
But even before the 1 year of that whole development process, he was already in a group. So that he was coming with some level of, some foundation of, experience.
And that group before then, 6 months before then also, the Prince was doing a one-on-one.
Exactly.
So almost 2 years for him to get to where he is.
Yeah.
Right now that he's quiet, is undergoing the next level. What are we doing next for you? This is how you're supposed to come out. Because now you can see he has moved from, what's that song? What's that for? Small. And when he was doing small, he was in the car, and Big Brother is doing the camera and everything. Now he's moved to Caribbean Boys and Bima So you get now their position is entering into I'm the teen sexy. It's deliberate, but people just feel like, how can I blow like Rema? How can I blow like Fireboy?
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's a process.
The best one. I want to blow like Joe Boy.
I think it goes back to the fact that we don't trust the process, because we don't see a lot of people who have become successful go through the process. We have seen just instantaneous blowing, or we ignore that the process was happening behind the scenes, which we were not privy to. And for us, it just seems like, oh, it's a miracle. This person, Joe Boy, just came out of the womb and he just, became a superstar.
That Joe Boy, when Baby was already buzzing. Right, this was early, I think late 2018. Late 2017 or something. I don't know, I can't remember correctly, but he sent me a DM and said, please, I see that you like music, please listen to this song. And when I listened to it, I said, I've heard this song before now, why is this boy DMing me, right? And I checked, I'm like, the video was already on like 4 million views, the visualizer. And I'm like, this boy is still sending
DM.
So I was talking to Osagi. I was like, have you heard this guy that we should bring him on business gig? And she was like, Joe Boy. I said, he even sent me a DM. Osagi was like, no, don't worry, send everybody DMs. I was just like, oh. So I said, but his song is at 4 million. Like, why is he sending people DMs to listen to his songs? Now, Baby took another 6 months for it to become
that
Baby.
Global.
And that song has been on the chart since 2018. It's still on Apple charts. all Joe Boy's songs are still on Apple charts. Same thing with Jealous for Fireboy. Those songs are still on the chart because the community. Do you know how attached I feel to Joe Boy because he sent me a person?
No, it means even if it was not him, even if it was his people, it's the fact that they took the initiative to reach out. And I think that a lot of Nigerians, whether it's artists or whomever, there's this sense of pride that we have that I need to just not even do bare minimum. Need lati shele, like this is beneath me. Exactly. And it's like I said, I really wish you could go on and on and on.
I feel like this podcast, you have to fit in.
I know. But it's so great. But one last question, two more questions before I go into my fun random questions with you is, remember that I told you that I was thinking about something when I was coming to interview you? As a lawyer, when you're representing a client and you see that the other party that your client is going to get into a contract with, you see that the terms of the deal are not, it's not even about being favorable to the other party. They're egregious. And the other party is not aware. Maybe the person just is not reading the contract, or maybe they're just saying, oh yeah, sign here. My lawyer is here to see that. As the lawyer for the other for the client, do you have a responsibility to tell your client that you need to structure this deal to be maybe not more favorable, but to be fair? Because a lot of times, as a lawyer, you don't want to be accused of professional misconduct. Mm-hmm. And in the States, before you become a lawyer, there's an exam. It's called the MPRE, the Multi-State Professional Responsibility Examination. It's an examination to tell lawyers that, okay, we're trying to see how professional in terms of conduct and, honesty and all these different things that before you can become a lawyer. And you have to pass that exam, because if you don't pass it, you're not becoming a lawyer. So for you, as a lawyer as well, do you think that it is a case that lawyers have to tell their clients that, you need to be fair, not nice, because niceness is not the point, but fairness?
I'm not a nice person. I'm a fair person, right? I'm that kind of person that in all my agreements with my own personal business is I give you a room to come and renegotiate. So you come and renegotiate based on value. That's where my niceness is. Like I was telling my staff yesterday, he said, oh, I feel like I deserve a raise. I said, come and prove it to me. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to offer you a raise, mm-hmm. But me telling you that come and prove it to me is being fair, right? And I tell that to my clients too. And I say, see, it's not that you want to be nice. It's that for you to have a percentage of something. Because if you are mean or you're wicked or whatever it is, or you're evil in your contract, you will end up with 100% of nothing, because this talent or this product or whatever it is coming from human. And we keep forgetting that the basic form of every IP is from the brain. And that human mind has to be in the best state to get the best product from mm-hmm. it. I mean, I've been in situations where I've outright told my clients that this is nonsense. And by industry, and because I owe my industry a duty to put in place contracts that makes it move forward. So I function from that, and I also function from the law itself. So my foundation is from the law itself, not generally I mean, if it's becoming something that you're not going to listen to me, and I think my conscience or whatever it is, or fundamentally against everything, the law and everything, all my check boxes, I move away from that contract. I step away. I step away from that contract, because the other option for me would be to frustrate the contract, which will now be
a professional misconduct. Exactly.
Misconduct. But I've had situations where we were functioning for the label, and the label was the lawyer before drafted a very unfair contract, and we spoke to our client and told him this ethically standard anywhere in the world cannot fly. Yeah. And we have to review it. And we called the artist and told him you have to come and renegotiate your contract, but these are within the confines you can renegotiate it. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the contract had already messed up that relationship so bad that both parties were mentally, psychologically damaged, and we could see that relationship was headed for the rocks. And it was unfortunate because that relationship was just beginning to blossom. But because they've both been psychologically damaged by the contract, it couldn't move forward, and we tried to salvage it, but we also got like all the producers in, because the producers now felt cheated. They felt like they were being ignored, and not because the label owner necessarily wanted to do it. It just didn't know better. Right? It just didn't know better. Now the producers started going about saying trash talking, and the brand started damaging, the brand equity started moving, and my client started thinking that we were now all for everybody apart from and I just sent him my resignation letter and said, I don't think I can keep working with you, because now it's not my job to be a psychologist, right? So you're like beyond damage. I can't salvage it, and everybody's going to come and start blaming the lawyer, and they will not know that I'm not the lawyer that started it.
Exactly, and that's why I asked that question, because a lot of times I think that as lawyers we may think that it's the label, that's their own business, but things get said outside, and you will become identified as the person who structured that deal. And what
unfortunate thing is affecting me now.
Yeah,
it's affecting, because the other parties have refused to see that it wasn't. His own lawyer understood that, okay, these lawyers are actually doing. I know a number of times I called and said, come and let's do this, but they all were having personal issues.
Yeah.
And the personal issues kept conflicting. Oh, I fed you when you were hungry, all those kind of things. So me in the mid, and I tweeted something. And I tweeted something, I said, you people need to stop, having illicit affairs and blaming it on the lawyers. Because those personal things begin to trickle into business.
Yeah.
And I'm being objective and doing the objective thing. But because you guys are being affected by your affairs, it's now affecting, and the lawyer is now the evil person. So it's still affecting, because I'll go to meetings and people say, oh, are you the lawyer that did it? I'm like, no, I'm not the one. Go and check I'm not the one, but so okay. You have that responsibility.
That's good to hear. Last two questions. Over the weekend, someone retweeted a tweet from you, and you said, I repeat, do not sell your souls for Apple Music playlists. And you went on further to clarify that I'm not talking about actual charts, but that some of you are giving your entire IP away after cursing labels for playlists. Now, see, because some people, their own goal is to be on playlists, and people will see it, but you think otherwise because you're a lawyer and you understand the value of intellectual property. So can you speak more about that a little bit?
So I've come across numerous deals from foreign companies, and those deals are not in the long run in benefit to the artist. And these artists, they've insulted the Nigerian labels. So this is the new fight. I need to own my IP. Okay, now you're owning the IP. What are you going to use?
You have to monetize it.
How? You don't have the resources. You don't have the technical know-how. So I get in Yankee, it's easy for them to be fighting for IP ownership. But we've not gotten to that stage. Because first of all, 90% of the artists still need education. So even if you own the IP, it's of no value to you if you're not transacting with it or keeping it. Now, because there's a foreign label with a foreign name and a big name, they're coming and saying, I can get you this, I can get you this playlist. So that phrase came from a certain deal I saw where they said that, let's go into a co-ownership situation, and the only thing I'm bringing to the table is to give you playlists. So... And I was like, and I told my client, I said, bro, I can get you playlists if you want the playlist. Like, and because of that contract, I had to go and study and learn and interact with like the biggest distribution, companies around, and figure out, why is playlist such a rave? Why is everybody going mad about playlists? And I started looking at it and I say, okay, so if you have this playlist, what's the conversion? Right? What's the conversion in terms of brand, in terms of value? And it boils down to these playlists are being controlled by algorithms.
Except the ones that labels specifically tell the
but you see,
the services.
The funny thing is they lobby for it too. So it's not like it's certain. So if you've not built up value, there's no lobbying they want to do.
On your behalf.
Even if you get it they'll probably give you like a day and bounce, because you're not converting value for them. So imagine like you're a guy in Bariga and you can convince 1,000 people to come on Boomplay that day and stream that song at that particular minute, Boomplay will feel the effect. And whoever is on the other end, the curator on the other end, will be forced to curate it, to target, because they want that audience to keep coming. It's algorithm. It's not anybody pushing anything. So if you're going to give someone 50% of your work for the barest minimum you can do by yourself, like if I'm going to sign with you as a major label, I want international force, because I can't do that myself. So when I say Apple Music Play, that's what I actually like. But it's not necessarily Apple Music Play.
Yes.
I think maybe I need to remove the Apple
playlist in general. Totally random. MIDEM is actually the digital is happening today, so hopefully we can get to some of it today or tomorrow. Final question: what can Nigerian courts or arbitration panels, what can they do or stop in order to help facilitate the resolution of disputes between artists and labels?
Actually, it starts from what can the industry do. Let me say, the judiciary doesn't function in a vacuum. If they don't get cases that has to do with entertainment, they're not going to move. If they don't get cases that has to do with IP, they're not going to move. Just that they don't see the need for going to judiciary training to be trained. They don't see the need. It's until, so imagine we're getting 20 cases in a year that has to do with contract. The only one of the few precedents we have in terms of like the music industry is King Sunny Ade and the Abioro family. After that, there was the Chalk City and Brimo that I don't even know if it was ever concluded or they withdrew it. But the judges they're just like, okay, it's just 2 cases in 3 decades. So we don't even, I go back to that, we don't use the law. So imagine we have like numerous cases in court trying to test the law. It's not easy for us when we go for our MBA conferences or whatever to come and now say, yo guys, we have this pressing industry issue and these are the things we need. And we start lobbying to change the practice directions, to change, so to now, like for example, let me give you a prime example. So we have something in Lagos called Small Courts Division. So the Small Courts Division deals with any case that is, any contract case or whatever that is less than 5 million. And this was because Lagos State was beginning to receive a lot of issues, that were 1 million, 200K, and it was just a lot, and it was crowding up the court. So what did they do? To decongest this thing, we just took it to that court, and in 1 month, your case is settled. That's because there was a pressing need for that. Now, fortunately, this COVID has, thank you, Jesus. Because first of all, you need to understand that the Nigerian legal system generally takes its time. I don't know maybe I need to find out the philosophy behind that, but we take our sweet time. And now, we've seen that we can actually have court hearings online. And we don't have to go to court. Mm-hmm. So now, practice directions are being put in place to be able to adapt to virtual hearing. So which now also, there's sometimes like lawyers will travel from Abuja to Lagos for a hearing and the court will not sit and all that. And people have been complaining. And we moved, I think the first adjustment was the registrar must always inform if the court judge will not be sitting or whatever and whatever. So now, the good thing is, the silver lining now is that now, hopefully, we can continue with virtual hearings for some matters. And the next step now will be to see how, the court begins to take on cases in terms of IP with a matter of urgency. Because we have to prove to them that IP depends on time for value. Now, in terms of arbitration, which is also the easiest other way to go, but arbitration is still very expensive for the entertainment industry, right? So I usually recommend mediation. Do mediation first before to go to the arbitral panel. But then again, we are not using it. We are not even using the arbitration. This was 3 years ago when when the whole country was forced to start including arbitration clauses into our contract. I think 3 to 4 years ago. So every case must have gone to arbitration or dispute resolution before coming to the court, because the court couldn't even handle the workload. So you can see that the court also responds to what the whatever industry is doing. Is responding, and so now there have been so many shipping cases. Now there are select judges that handles. So and I think Copyright Act is in the exclusive list, or IP matters are in the exclusive list, which means it has to go to the Federal High Court, which is another, so a lot of, there's some things on the exclusive list that we're generally fighting, as a community, to move from the exclusive list and put it on the non-exclusive list so that, more people can administrate over it. So now the Nigerian court is still probably a long way to go, but the arbitration situation is still very much available. But we're not using it. Have you heard of any case any entertainment case that has gone to arbitration?
That's why I said I had to add arbitration. My initial question was just Nigerian court, but I said that, I want to put arbitration panels there as well because I think it's important.
Yeah, but there's 90% of the contracts that are signed now, they have arbitration clauses. Yeah. They do, but we just don't use them.
Interesting random thing. I attended like a webinar during the lockdown on like how Nigerian courts are responding to coronavirus and how if the virtual hearings are going to be a constant, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to have constant presence, and different lawyers had different opinions. But
let me tell you, the lawyers that are against it, the old ones.
Ironically, a couple of elderly lawyers who were in support, who were actually championing for that courts just have to adapt. This is how things are being done now. If you don't adapt, you get left behind. So it was interesting to see elderly, seasoned lawyers actually saying that.
Because some of them cannot even operate their computer properly. So they're having issues with it. But this, like, one of the Zoom hearings, there were like almost 500 people tuned in, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the excuse was, it's not public. What's not public about 500 people online?
Yeah.
But have you gone to the Federal High Court? You can't sit more than, and it's always stuffy. Then we have to wear wig and gown, and you're doing like this in court, you're blowing fan and everything. So, in future looking or whatever it is, that's the future to go. So right now, I expect that lawpreneurs, law tech people are beginning to think about how to develop like a closed portal or whatever it is, to be able to facilitate virtual hearings. Because whether we like it or not, like I said from the beginning, there's a tectonic shift. And this is when billionaires are about to be made. So if your eyes are not open, everything has to adjust. Every single thing has to adjust.
But I think it's fair to note that one of the lawyers mentioned, and I do agree with that she talked about the virtual hearings, and in particular, when you talk about domestic violence cases or sexual abuse cases, a lot of people that bring these cases are living in like villages or places that don't have access to constant electricity or internet service. So before you now go and tell the person to come as a witness, that takes a lot of time to go and do that. And then how many people actually have smartphones that can actually connect to the internet? So the government also has a role to play in ensuring that people in communities have access to these Zoom hearings or these cases that are going to be done through virtual hearing. And I thought it was very valid point to make.
But the thing is, yes, I totally agree. We are not going to 100% move to Zoom hearing. So things like IP matter. So before you have an IP matter, to be honest, you have some certain level of exposure. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
Before you have a shipping matter, you have a certain level of exposure. Now, the other cases like, this people went to rob or whatever, of course, that's why we still have this. And those courts still need to be there. But in the next 5 years, with the I think I was reading 2 weeks ago that they're laying Google, MTN, and a Chinese company or whatever, they're laying cables around, it's going to be a dramatic shift.
Yeah.
In the next 5 years, data is going to be cheap like water. We need to start preparing for that.
Yeah.
So the government has the responsibility. That's why whoever you guys are voting for in the next election has to have a tech-oriented mindset. Or a tech-oriented cabinet, or whatever, because that's where we need to onboard those people. The funny thing is, people keep saying there are people that they don't know what the internet is or whatever. But if you check, they have Facebook accounts. That's why Facebook is still the number one social media platform.
Yeah.
So we need to start tapping into all that. Whether we like it or not, when ATMs, came in, we were all complaining.
Yeah.
But the Okada guy can use his ATM card. Even though he doesn't, he just knows the technique and this thing. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I agree with that the government has to embark on this sensitization. And I keep saying it, this period, because right now, let me just tell you guys, Nigeria cannot fall more than what is falling. So we're at a certain level. America is falling and coming to our level. Now, the others are fighting to take America's space in terms of superpower. So they are currently now, for the next 2 years, going to ignore, before they were all fighting to take hold of Africa so that they can join that to their power and fight the superpower. But now they see that there's a crack in America and all of them are fighting to get that superpower. So Africa will have the chance to grow and get lever to tell them when they come back, get out.
I just, for the record, I want to say I want both my countries to grow.
I know you have. I mean, this is a bad time to have a blue and green
passport.
I know,
right? I'm just like, because talking about the ADB situation, I was like, dang, yo. I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep it moving.
So guys, if you have the opportunity, and this is not just music or whatever, if you have the opportunity, I think we just need more people exposed and educated so that when you have the opportunity to go out and have conversations, you're not going out to have conversation of, oh, I want this for my company. You're going to have conversation on a broad scale.
Yeah.
That whatever investment it is benefiting your country or your industry as a whole. And which is why you have to respect someone like Mr. Easy. Because, as much as he went out, took his bag, went out and went to go and have conversation that would affect his company, but change the way systems are being made in the industry, which we consider ripple effect.
Exactly.
So, and that's because someone was able to sit down, and when he had the opportunity to speak, he was able to speak. So every elite, educated person out there, this is a period where everybody needs us, not to be selfish, but to build.
Well said. Now let's go into the fun random questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. First question is, what are the first 3 things that you do when you wake up?
So I pray, I pick up my phone and I check my WhatsApp messages. Then I decide, is it 2 or 3?
3.
Then I put on music and get ready.
Okay. Second question, an artist is building her team and she only has money to pay one professional. Who should the artist choose and why? The options are a manager, lawyer, or publicist.
A lawyer. Because the lawyer has a manager as a client, a publicist as a client that she can introduce you to.
Okay. Not because you're a lawyer. No. All right. Third question. Out of these 3 women, who would you choose to represent based on the breadth of issues that you'll be dealing with? The options are Onyeka Onwenu, Issa Rae, or Rihanna.
Actually, okay, I think it has to be Onyeka. I think it has to be Onyeka. Because she's gone the whole 9 yards. She's been a woman, in international front. She's been a woman in a male-dominated industry. She's had her own cases. She has fought in terms of lawsuits. She's been famous, and dealt with backlash and stuff. Rihanna and Issa would just be black girl magic fighting foreign black girl magic for me.
Yeah.
But Onyeka is like 360, so it will be Onyeka.
Okay, that's good. Fourth question, fill in the blank. Entertainment lawyers are
superstars.
All right, final question is, name 3 artists that you had on steady rotation during the initial lockdown.
I had this is such an interesting playlist. I had Elevation Worship.
Okay.
I had Baski, and I had Dunsi Onyekon.
Who's Dunsi?
I sing Just Breathe Your Name Upon Me. Breathe is a Christian artist.
Okay. There's something about it's not religious music, but just music that is Christian, or whether it's even Islam music or whatever the case may be, that just has a way of like moving your spirit.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Like Hillsong's one of my favorite groups. Like they're just their lyrics. They make me value. Yes,
so
it has
descriptive.
a meaning.
Oh my
They're
God.
amazing songwriters.
Yeah, amazing songwriters.
All right. Any last words for us before we wrap it up?
First of all, thank you for this, podcast that you do. I know it's not cheap. I see your gadget. The gadget is so fine. I'm beginning to think about it like, damn. I mean, she has a full setup, mixer, Nikon camera, 2 podcast mics. You know what I mean? It's looking so dope. And she said that, she will have done the video, but because of, Corona and stuff. But actually, thank you for what you do.
Oh, no, thank you for being great.
Education is very needed. And we've been doing it the way we can, and we still just need it to go out. And I feel like for you as an artist or a label, if you're making mistakes at this point, it's really on you. I mean, 7 years ago, you could have argued that you didn't know, but ignorance is no longer an excuse. There's information everywhere. There's examples everywhere. And stop being cheap, engage the right professionals, and treat it like a business. Treat it like a business. Once you start treating it like a business, you find what you're looking for. You find the best lawyers, you find the best managers, you find the best publicists, and just always think 5 years. In 5 years, would this decision benefit me? In 5 years, where would the industry be? In 5 years, would this investment mean anything and stuff? And I feel like, it's a time where all of us have to come together to grow. And don't be selfish.
Yeah.
Some people go and sign deals and keep the information to themselves. They will not tell us so that we can know if you signed nonsense, or you can help the other person, not to sign rubbish and stuff. And now the foreigners are going to be coming in like drove, because now everywhere is broke and our naira is devalued. So it's time for them to, from the Chinese to the French people to America to maybe not the UK, because those ones are broke, very, very broke. So, but everybody's coming in to have a bite of Africa. And I feel like a lot of us are going to start continuing. We're still beaten by colonialism, that we're going to sell ourselves back again to the slaves. So please, please, please don't sign slave master deals. And that's really the onus of my Don't Sell Your Soul for Apple Music playlist. And always remember that for every platform that comes to you for your content, you are the one giving them the most value. Because if your music doesn't make, let me even give you a secret. If your music doesn't make money on, let's say, Apple Music or Spotify or Pandora, or whatever it is, for example, for every song that is on that platform, it increases their valuation. But that your song is not making 1 naira from it doesn't affect them, right? So we need to understand, like it goes back to what we said, we need to find ourselves and understand our value again, so that everybody can eat and be happy. But this is Africa's time. I mean, all the Afrobeats to the world, a lot of us are just making noise. But those of us at the back, we need to sit down and actually embrace Africa to the world and do the work. Please don't sell your soul for cheap stuffs. Stuffs. Thank you so much, Shadi, for having me here.
No.
This was the most interesting conversation I've had. It's not, I don't like going for interviews anymore, because a lot of basic questions and it doesn't task my brain. I'm just always like, same thing. I'm saying the same thing, same thing again. But I really enjoyed this conversation.
I'm glad. And can I just get props to my legal background? Hey.
Of course, lawyers are superstars.
Thank you so much for your time, Boza.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This episode is produced and edited by me, Folashade Anozie. Theme song for the show is by Imodu Ayonote. You can subscribe to the podcast on AudioMac, Apple Podcast, Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcast, and Stitcher Radio. Simply search for TheSNC Podcast. So that's the SNC Podcast, which is one word, no spacing. Also follow us at TheSNC Podcast, still one word, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you for listening.